I'm here on set for No Vacancy. This is a whole creator production. I'll tell you more about that some other time. I'm super excited because I get to do the on-set photography. And not only just that, I'm using the new GFX100 II. You would think that like medium format might be a bad idea for a job like this, but this camera is actually a workhorse for speed, low light, 100 megapixels. I'm gonna take you behind the scenes on this production, and I'll also be reviewing this at the same time. So let's do it.
Talk to me nice, ain't about winning, don't talk to me twice. I don't think
on-set photography is kind of a cheat code because our DP Lucas over here, everything just looks amazing as it is already, so it kind of makes my job way easier. I only have one lens for this whole shoot, but we got 100 megapixels. I could kind of be mindful that in post I could go and crop in and I get tighter photos basically of all my shots. I got really interested in using this setup for something like this because I saw Oren Sofer, sorry for messing up your name, bro, but he was the DP on The Creator, and he was posting GFX stills that he was shooting on set, and they looked insane. Like there's just the color fidelity, like how filmic it looked. It was just like cool to see that. One of the things I find most impressive about this camera, besides, you know, that we're getting medium format separation, is also the color fidelity when you're shooting the 16-bit RAW. All the eye footage lights we've been using have been amazing. This shoots 16-bit color. If you're not using high quality lights with high CRI ratings, a 16-bit RAW camera like this, you're gonna be able to see the quality on it. So when you pair it up with the SL1 eye footage lights, these have some of the highest CRI ratings that you get in this price range. You're gonna really see what this camera is capable of. So Brady's actually the gaffer on the shoot, and he's gonna be putting up the RE tungsten lights up to these lights. So if you guys don't believe me, go over his channel to check out the quality of these. We get all these different crop factors on here, so I have a feeling some of these guys here might be using this for thumbnails, or if we're doing on-set photography, 16:9 is going to kind of match what the final deliverable might be, because I don't think we're shooting anamorphic. They might do a final deliverable of anamorphic though, so say if they're going to do that, I could go over to this mode, the 65:24. This is actually a panoramic crop, but it kind of matches anamorphic, so I can get kind of a cinematic look out of it just from shooting in that mode. Call it an issue, or you just call it part of shooting medium format, is it's hard to find lenses that can cover this giant sensor. Fujifilm is constantly updating their lens line, and you can also go to old medium format cameras and adapt those lenses. For this shoot, I only have the 50mm, the 1.7, and it's amazing, but there's a lot of times where, you know, I'm doing on-set photography, so I need to kind of keep my distance, not get in the crew's way. This whole film we're shooting on the IRIX lenses, and just looking at the back of the monitors, I've been really impressed with how they look. So I was like, hey, throw one of those lenses onto this GFX. I had no idea if it was going to cover the full sensor or not, and the 150mm pretty much covers the whole thing. Granted, I haven't looked at it in post, so I know I keep bringing up that in the past I owned a bunch of, like, pretty much every GFX camera that's existed, and I used to try to adapt all these different full frame lenses and old medium format lenses, and a lot of the times you notice like, oh, this glass isn't that great, like it's super soft. When you get 100 megapixels on a medium format sensor, it will show every defect of the lens, and these things are so clean that it's pretty much keeping up. Like this is actually a beautiful partnering of lens and camera. I'm supposed to be doing on-set photography, but this GFX100 II is low-key a great video camera, cinema camera, whatever you want to call it. You can see the rig I have out on here. I'm gonna tear it down because I have to get back on still, so I'll show you guys this whole setup. But I gotta say, the IRIX 30mm actually covers the full sensor on this, which is kind of mind-blowing. Another crazy thing is, since this sensor is so huge, IBIS, you wouldn't think IBIS would be that great on it, but it's actually super freaking smooth. Obviously we're on 30mm, so IBIS, you know, you can cheat a little bit more, but I did have a 150mm on the other day, and it was even stable with that, which is once again mind-blowing. But let me just show you guys how large this sensor is. I think it's ginormous, insane. All the video settings are pretty much exactly the same. So if you're familiar with that, it's pretty much the same exact thing on this. I remember when this first came out, I was like, who is this camera really for? Because they're really hyping it up for video. I mean, but think about it, we're shooting on the Red Raptor, which that sensor is larger than 35mm. So say if you wanted a B or C camera to match up with like the same sensor size, you could possibly throw this into there. I want to show you what's so cool about this new Condor Blue cage. Moving forward, this design they have on here is gonna be kind of like a standard for the rest of their cameras. This is Condor Blue's D-Tap. What's cool about this is I'm powering my monitor and I'm powering the camera. So I didn't lose any battery power with this setup here. Guys, here's the magic. That just comes out and your camera just drops out. So again, moving forward, they're gonna integrate this design into more of the cameras coming out. And I'm ready to start shooting photos. It's kind of that easy. As autofocus so far, I barely have done any setting adjustments or anything like that. And it's kind of keeping up to some like Sony full frame cameras, which is wild because again, the sensor's like 2 to 3 times bigger than a full frame. I pretty much have owned every GFX camera that they've made. What's crazy about this is finally holding up to like full frame autofocus performance at nighttime. It's face detecting and object tracking, whatever I put it on. And you can see we're in the middle of the night, even when these lights are off, it's still holding up. See, depending on what object you're tracking, the shape of the box will actually change. So this is better than even the X-T5 and X-H2S autofocus tracking. One of my main gripes with previous GFX cameras is the autofocus just couldn't hold up, especially if you're trying to shoot like a model running through a field or something like that. It was easier to put it in manual focus. With this, I have a feeling, depending on the lens, this is one of their newer lenses. That's also a trick with GFX to get better autofocus performance, but I'm pretty shocked at how well this is doing. I own the GFX 50S, the 50R, the 50S II. I never bought the 100, but I think I did buy the 100S. Now with the 100 II, like I am just, again, going back all the way to 50S, everything I always wanted in that camera is, this camera does. So shout out to Fujifilm. They are continually just pushing medium format. Just to prove how good the autofocus is on here, you guys know I love the X100V. The autofocus tracking is even better on this than the X100V, which is like wild. I know the X100V, and like brand new, it's 14, used, it's like 4,000. This is still 8,000, I know. But again, this sensor is 4 times bigger, maybe 10 times, 12 times. I'm exaggerating all this, but you guys get the point. I haven't tested the ISO performance on this, but I believe this is the same sensor as the first GFX100. I might be wrong in that. I'll put a disclaimer if I am. But if it is, 10,000 ISO is like super easy to use on this. The fact that it's 100 megapixels on a giant medium format sensor, all that's getting compressed down. So especially if you're just going straight to social media or like wherever you're posting it online, it's gonna look insanely clean. So I'll test this out. I'll go up to like 12,800. I'll go up to 56,000, however high it goes. I'm gonna push the limits on this, but even with just like all of our film lights here, it's still plenty enough light for how much light that these sensors collect. That's what's crazy about medium format is since it's a bigger sensor, it's collecting way more light. Bigger sensor, bigger lens. It's a bigger portal to suck in that light. It's like a black hole of just, you know, whatever. You guys get it. Here, I'm at the DIT workstation. I just want to talk a little bit about the cards. Previously with the other GFX cameras, I would just put SD cards in there. And anytime I was shooting, if I was shooting fashion stuff, whatever it is, if you're doing any type of burst, or if you're shooting like 5 frames, like per, 5 seconds, you're gonna have to wait for those files to write to the card because this is 100 megapixels. It's a lot of megapixels to write to a card. On this new GFX100 II, we now have CF Express B. You guys can see I'm using Angel Bird cards. This is important because this is one of the most like trusted cards that you can get in the industry right now. In fact, all the Red cameras we're shooting on Red Raptors and a bunch of Komodos here, we're using all Angel Bird cards in there. They're like one of the few cards that are supported by Red. On top of that, this does shoot 8K video. I did slap some lenses on this while we were on set. And just once again, when you're shooting 8K or even 4K a lot of the times, you want a CF Express B card if your camera supports it. And if you cheap out on any of the other ones, they kind of cheat their in read speeds and everything. So again, Angel Bird's is one of the most trusted, robust, like rugged cards that you can get. Guys, this viewfinder is ginormous. This is probably one of the first viewfinders where even my prescription's on, I could just put it up and like it just takes over the whole eye, and it's super comfortable too, even with the glasses. It's been crazy. I was just taking photos of Armando over here. He goes, that looks pretty sharp. What's your shutter at? I was like 1/60th. And I looked and I was like, actually I had a 60th. I punch into the camera and it's tack sharp. So previously on other GFX cameras, some of them have IBIS, but they still weren't fast enough. So at 60th of a second, because that's a big shutter. When you're a medium format camera, that shutter has to travel that whole way. And when you're doing that, the image gets shifted as you're moving the camera around. So the IBIS in here fixes that. Guys, it's crazy how quiet the shutter is on this for being a medium format. Put up to mic and see if you can hear it. Also, we got big generators over there, but you guys might not even be able to hear that.
Looks good. All right,
back to one. Still rolling.
What's that?
What's cool is on this film, I got to work with a bunch of my talented homies who also have YouTube channels. Creator has a special playlist that I'll link below where you can check out the full series, including their videos, the trailer to the film, and some other things as well. So check it out.
Talk to me nice, ain't about winning, don't talk to me twice. I don't play dice, I'll make a move on the board, it's precise.